cape.
Hey Wargamers, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough, and there is some cool news coming out today. I did this as a live show like 10 minutes ago, and for some reason YouTube deleted everything. I'm not quite sure why. So, hopping back over quickly, and we're going to head over to the Warhammer community page. Get my mic out of the way here so I can actually talk to you. Looking down here, a new article came out today, the Beasts of Chaos. I'm very excited about this, as I mentioned before. So, here's the thing. Got some new details about the Battle Tome as well as some of the products coming out with it, and I wanted to take some time to take a look at them because there is some really good information in this one. And so I like to highlight those articles on the community page when possible. So, as far as what the book is, if you didn't see my earlier video, it is kind of this amalgamation of Brayherds, Warherd, Thunderscorn, Monsters of Chaos, those kinds of little sub-factions that don't really work on their own, being lumped together in kind of a mega book. This is something a lot of us have wanted from GW for a long time, since they were kind of split up and somewhat shattered when AOS came out. So there's a little fluff text here to get you excited for it. Moving down quickly, real information here. So you'll be able to customize your army more than ever, thanks to a huge host of new rules, from unique command traits for Brayherds, Warherd, and Thunderscorn. Pause there. I think this is going to work a lot like if you look at one of the Chaos God books, like the Magakin of Nurgle. It has command traits and stuff like that for demons, Rotbringers, and mortals, right? Because you can take Slaves to Darkness as just a mortal. And so I think it's going to work pretty similar to that. Moving on, magical spells and extra abilities for dedicating your army to one of the Great Frays. I'm assuming Great Frays is their term for like storm hosts or enclaves for the Idoneth Teepkin. Summoning rules, meanwhile, allow you to sacrifice your troops and call anything from skirmishing Ungor to rampaging chimeras from the warping wilds. So that's actually really huge. I'm wondering how many units in this book are actually quote-unquote summonable, and what that mechanic's going to look like as you leech life from one section of the board to bring on more units. Sounds incredibly exciting. I'm curious. I'm actually kind of curious if they have to be summoned near the Herdstone. I don't know. A lot of questions there, but the fact that this army that has traditionally not had summoning, getting that mechanic, and I don't know, that just sounds really fun. So let's see here. Best of the Battle Tome you're waiting for, packed with changes, great and small, from the addition to the various types of Zangor to the Brayherds. So Brayherds is a keyword, so it looks like Gore is probably going to be the unifying term there. To a host of War Scroll changes designed to make your army more fun and powerful to play, which is really great, because some of those smaller units and stuff like that, they just needed a bump, right? Like Chimeras kind of needed a bump, Jobber Slides, you never really saw them, those kinds of things. This coming week, they'll be previewing the book, and Warhammer community writer Rue, who's been on the Stormcast podcast quite a bit, is super pumped. So yeah, and if you are interested in that, they have the limited edition book, which is actually super pretty looking. And moving quickly down, we take a look at the Herdstone. This is the new model they have. If you are new to AOS and don't know, in the old world, Beastmen was kind of the catch-all term, same basic army type. And they would basically erect these towers that were kind of like nexuses of dark power and that kind of stuff, and savagery and all that mess. But we didn't have a model for them. You kind of make your own. In AOS, you would just kind of pick a point on the battlefield, really, using something suitable. But this is a absolutely stunning model. Kind of has a Wicker Man feel with the horns up top. And I'm wondering how much of it is going to be customizable, because I think some of the pictures had a little bit different, I don't know, accessories on it, but it looks super great. They mention here it doesn't cost a single point to play, so it's going to be just like the Feculent Narama or the Shipwreck thing. Let me make sure I'm still filming here. Yep, I am. Okay, perfect. And moving down, we look at their endless spells, which we've seen quite a bit of by now, but they are cool models. I don't know how much they'll get used, because there's not a big plethora of spellcasters in the sub-factions they've mentioned. So, you know, casting spells is kind of at a premium, but they are very cool looking, and I would love to see them get some use. Bull, I can pretty much see is just going to be a straightforward mortal wound damager. I don't think I've seen the War Scroll for these little flock of bird looking dudes, but I'm kind of curious about those. And we move into accessories. Of course, starting off with War Scroll cards, which now, for the first time, I am playing a faction that actually has those. I have the Iron Jaws. I gotta say, they're awesome. I love having these things. So if you're gonna be playing Beasts of Chaos, it's to me a no-brainer. And the bane of my history with GW is the fact that they just make illegible dice. I don't know what's going on here. We got a gore head and an ungore head, it looks like. And then the only numbers that we kind of see is like a circle with like 2 dashes, and there's a dash in the middle, and there's some with no dash in the middle. So I'm not really sure what we're supposed to glean numerically from this, but if you're into them, get them, and just play with your friends with them who trust you to be honest about what you're rolling, because I have no idea. I played against a guy with the Deepkin dice like 2 weeks ago, and you cannot read them from across the table. So it's just like, I just believe you. Whatever you say, it's fine. We're having a friendly game. And that's kind of a pain. Anyway, moving on to something that is not a pain and is actually incredibly exciting is a start collecting Beast of Chaos book. So if you have a chance to look at this, let's see here, perfect way to do it. Okay, I thought there was more fluff text there, but looking at this, we have a box of Ungore, which are your cheap chaff unit, very lightly armored dudes. You have a box of, what are these, Bestigore, the heavy armored ones, a little bit tougher, do more attacks, things like that, as well as a Great Bray Shaman. And of course, the centerpiece of the whole thing is that big ol', I think it's a Sigor kit, mega monster. So here's the thing, on my channel I always do start collecting box reviews for when they come out, and this is going to be no different, and I'm very excited for this one, because here's the thing, I don't know what tweaks they made to the army. I don't know how good this start collecting box is going to be or how many points it is, but I can tell you that when you're trying to get new folks into the game, exposing them to as many types of models as possible to see what different units are like is really important. And so on the right, you have your cheap chaff unit to absorb damage. They're meant to die and take the hit. You have your heavy hitting infantry over on the left with the Bestigores. You have a hero and also a wizard on the bottom to be able to teach people how to play magic and use command abilities and command traits, things like that, as well as a big centerpiece model. So the only thing that you can conceivably say it's missing is some type of cavalry unit, and that is so low on the scale of teaching people like the breadth of this game that it's, because they're just faster, and I think that is incredible. So as of right now, this is probably my favorite start collecting box is looking at in terms of teaching people the wide variety of models. You have a multi-tiered what do you call it, like a diminishing profile, so you can teach them that. It seems like a great educational box for teaching people how to play the game, as well as they're just good looking. Like, they're just good looking models. The Great Bray Shaman, the big guy in the center, all the dudes on the side. Like, everyone here just looks good. And so I'm very excited about that. I am going to get the Battle Tome, do my normal lore reviews as I always do, and then finish off that lore week by examining this box, because I'm kind of curious. It's one of the first ones that's come out since they've started doing the various like Storm Hosts and Enclaves. I think they called them the Great Phrase in this one. So I'm very curious to see how I can kind of do a tutorial like, hey, if you're start collecting, here's the units, here's how they work, here are some things you can look at for the Great Phrase, and kind of develop the army from here. Again, with the changes, I'm pretty sure being wide sweeping across a lot of these war scrolls, I really have to examine what the changes are, what's a good place to expand from there. So it's going to take some time, but just on face value alone and dollar value, this is an incredible box. And so good on them. Good on them. I think, because what are the other chaos boxes are the ones for each god, the demons. Yeah, I mean, if you're going with Chaos Undivided, this is far better, I would say, than the Slaves to Darkness, in terms of value and the kind of units you get to use. So that's really exciting. And the last little thing here at the bottom is back on shelves. So a big reason a lot of these factions have not seen the light of day is because accessibility to their models was not super easy. And so bringing back the War Herd guys, the little Minotaur boys, as well as these are the Hounds of Chaos, or whatever they're called. Yeah, I have a bunch of those. And then the Gores, the basic Gore, which you actually don't see a lot of in this article, but they're kind of the basic troop, with the Ungores being kind of a subset of that, a little bit weaker. But back on shelves means these will make great expansions for this box, which I'm sure is exactly what they were thinking about. So all in all, terrific news day, lots of cool information. I'm kind of unpacking it, so that's what the article says. Unpacking it, things that excite me is the command traits and stuff like that for each of the individual factions. I know Mark at Rerolling Ones has Warherd, and so this is something that's huge for him. Hey, you don't have to take everything else, but if you choose to align yourself, generally speaking, to Warherd, you're rewarded for that. Here's some cool command traits for you. Very excited. I'm not sure how he wants to expand that, or if at all, if he wants to stick strictly with Warherd stuff, which is cool, or include things like the Hounds of Chaos and that kind of junk. Going from there, though, the addition of summoning mechanics to an army like this is very fascinating. One, what units can you summon? Because Chimeras, I could be like, oh, okay, that's a big monster thing. I get that. But then if you also say you can summon an Ungor, well, that is the lowest skirmishy type unit there is. So I guess I feel like those are both ends of the spectrum. So I'm kind of curious, can you just summon like just about everything? Very interested for that. I'm sure you can't, but I'm very interested to see how that works. I love the idea of hurting yourself to summon something, because let's say you have let's scroll down here and take a look at these models here. Let's say you're playing an objectives game and you have a big block of the Bestigors up in your opponent's face and they're kicking tail, but your back objective that you need to cover is now exposed and you don't have anyone on it. Doing things like, hey, I'm going to hurt my Bestigors, take some guys away, summon a crap unit of Ungors, throw them back there on the objective, is the strategic way of doing those kinds of things. Allows for a lot of flexibility, and so I think that is extremely interesting. So I think it complements the things that Brayherd was already doing in the General's Handbook, which is scenario play. You can be a lot of places based on their speed, where they can get to, but they don't have that punch. Well, I think bringing in things like Warherd in the same faction is going to allow them to have that punch, first of all, but the ability to hurt yourself here to throw more units on this side, kind of manipulate the battlefield and the kind of the ebb and flow of where the game's going based on that, in real time, hopefully, rather than like accruing blood tithe points over time or accruing contagion points. Those kinds of things take time to go, and yes, they can be sped up, but if you were to like destroy a unit there and throw a unit over here, that's much faster than those other two options. So I'm very excited about that. And so, yeah, I want to hear your thoughts. So leave in the comments down below. I want to hear your thoughts on the inclusion of the Tzeentch stuff, the Zangors. I want to know what you think they're actually going to include. What of these kind of news articles excites you the most? The command traits, the spells, the summoning, the Herdstone, of course, endless spells, products. The Star Collecting box looks astounding. And then having things back on the shelves. So we're going to continue this conversation down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and happy wargaming.